Hello and welcome to the Complete Lakers podcast. I'm Anthony Wilson, recording from Los Angeles, California. Um, so I'm recording this after the Lakers got finished disgracing the great Pat Riley on the day of his statue unveiling outside of the arena formerly known as Staples Center uh, against, no less the team that he's hated the most for the last 40 plus years, the Boston Celtics. The Celtics came into LA and blew the Lakers out 111 to 89. Uh, what can I say, man? Jaylen Brown continues to make his MVP case. He had 32 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists. Um, Boston moves to 37 and 19, while the Lakers fall to 34 and 22. Obviously, the Lakers only scored 89 points. Uh, honestly, for most of the game, I stopped watching like at the start of the fourth quarter. By today's standards, neither team was really playing that well offensively up to that point. I think the Lakers had cut it to like 9. I think it was like 85-76 or something like that when I stopped watching. And then, come back to see that the Lakers, ended up losing by 22. Um, like I said, it's just a disgrace on the day that the great Pat Riley got his statue and on the day that his statue was unveiled. And it's the day that I've been looking forward to ever since it was announced that he'd be getting a statue. It managed to creep up on me. I'd forgotten the date, but of course it was fitting because of past history here as coach of the Lakers and in the '80s against the battles against the Celtics, 84, 85, and 87. And I think all these years later, like when Miami would beat Boston in the playoffs with Jimmy Butler, and I just feel like Pat all these years later, and Pat has been in the Lakers organization since 1990. But I think that his disdain for the Celtics, it's still there, and so it sucks that the Lakers came out and put on such a poor performance tonight against Boston. Um, but mainly, and I'll probably, hopefully, I'll record with the guys tomorrow. But mainly, I wanted to get on here and have some solo time to talk about the great Pat Riley, who Pat Riley's in the Lakers organization for 20 years. First as a player, then as an announcer, then as a coach. He was on Paul Westhead's staff at first. First of all, going backwards, he was with the Lakers, the 72 Lakers. So he played with Jerry West. He played with Wilt Chamberlain. He played with Gail Goodrich. He was on that team that won 33 straight games, one of the greatest teams of all time. And the Lakers' first championship in Los Angeles. And then after retirement, as I said, he called games with Chick Hearn. And then he became, he got into coaching first as Paul Westhead's assistant. If you watch the Lakers, the HBO series, Winning Time, you see how that all developed. And shout out to Jeff Pearlman who came on here and talked about the show a few years ago. But yeah, that was Pat, and of course once Westhead is let go at the behest of Magic Johnson in 1981, Dr. Buss calls a famous press conference where he says, I forget, I don't remember how he labeled it, but basically, like Pat is the coach, and then Jerry West is the offensive assistant, or however he said it, and that didn't last long. And basically, Pat became the head coach, and the rest is history. They won the title that year in '82, beating the Sixers. Um, next year lose to the Sixers, the 4-5-4 Sixers. So the Sixers get their get back. In '85, they had. I'm sorry, in '83, that's Moses Malone. He won it. I think it was his third MVP. That Sixers team, one of the greatest teams of all time. Which, not to go on a tangent, but I think I thought that Sixers team. I think the thing that maybe the reason they don't get as much praise as they should get in modern times is because like they didn't really. I mean, they didn't do a good job of defending the title. And like I saw, with Doc, with Dr. J, they had been a team, as I said, the Lakers had beat them in '82, Lakers had beat them in 1980. They'd also been in the finals in 1977. But it wasn't until they got Moses in '83 that they just went to another level. But then they weren't able to sustain that level. But the main thing I was going to say is that for them to sweep, I mean, who else? I mean, to them to sweep the Showtime Lakers, what an awesome team that was. I mean, the only time the Lakers looked that bad was probably 80, 86 against against Houston. I think the Lakers only won one game against Houston. And I think in 1990, that was after Kareem, though. So when they lost to Phoenix, I think in 5 games. But for them to get swept, the Lakers, Showtime, Magic, Kareem, Hooper, all the guys, Norm Nixon in his last series of the Lakers. So that's just let me get back on track. But yeah, so and then of course in '84, we come back. Norman's gone. He's traded for Byron Scott. We lose to Boston in 7, the tragic Johnson series, a series the Lakers really should have won. In '85 is the exorcism when we beat Boston in the Garden. First time, of course, all throughout the 1960s, the Lakers had been the bridesmaid to Boston, the runner-up. So I'm finally able to exercise those demons. In '86, that was the year we lose to Houston with Sampson and Hakeem. And then in '87 and '88, '87 we beat Boston again. We win the rubber match. Come back next year, beat Detroit, become the first team to go back-to-back since the 68 and 69 Celtics. The year after that, in '89, that's the infamous Santa Barbara year where the Lakers, after sweeping through the West, going 11-0 to the West, Pat, who was notoriously, he really worked the guys hard all throughout his career as a coach, from LA to New York to Miami, really hard, grueling practices and stuff like that. And it backfired in '89 in Santa Barbara when Byron tore his hamstring, and then later on in the series, Magic suffered a hamstring injury, and Lakers get swept. Doug Krikorian, I once heard him, he was talking on the Ben Mahler podcast, and he said that the 1989 Lakers, pre-Santa Barbara, that they were the best Lakers team that he had ever seen. If I could ever talk to Pat Riley, that'd be a question that I could ask him. And another question I would ask him is if he felt like they were better once they stopped. If he thought they were better from '87 through '89 than they were from previously, because through '86 they played through Kareem as the first option in the half court, and from '87 through '89 they played through Magic, James, Byron, only in the full court, but in the half court also. So that's the question I wish I could ask him. Then in 1990, Riley finally wins Coach of the Year for the first time. That's the first year post Kareem. And they go, obviously Kareem retired. That was Kareem's last year in '89. So in '90, without Kareem, the Lakers go 63-19. Magic wins his third and final MVP, and Riley's named Coach of the Year for the first time. And then after that, after losing to Phoenix, if you ever get Jeff Pearlman's book, he does a really good job of summing up how it ended. Basically, the guys were they were just tired of Riley. And Mark Heisler's book also, Madmen's Basketball, does a good job of summing it up, how it ended. And then Riley goes on, of course, and he takes a year off, does TV for NBC, and then coaches the Knicks for 4 years, takes them to the finals, Game 7 against Houston. They haven't been that close to winning the championship since 1973 when they won their last one. Um, then what happened? Then he leaves the Knicks and goes to Miami, and he's been in Miami ever since. First, the head coach, you know, won their first title for them in 2006, and then he's just been the architect ever since then. The architect of the LeBron and Wade and Bosh. They won those two more titles, and then Jimmy Butler teams when they made the finals two more times, losing to the Lakers in 2020 in the bubble. So, and now all these years later, he returns. It's not the first time. I remember when Dr. Buss died, and Pat spoke at the funeral, and it was a great speech, man. He just talked about those days, and you could tell that even now, after all these years, I think Pat still considers himself a Laker, and I feel like Dr. Buss gave him the ultimate tribute. Like I said, Mark Heisler, he quoted Dr. Buss in the Mad Men's basketball book. Dr. Buss said that he said there are three people that he can believe helped elevate the Lakers from being a basketball franchise to the basketball franchise. And he said he tried to reward them in monetary terms. He said one of them was Magic Johnson, the other one was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and the other one was Pat Riley. So, and also Magic said, this was referenced in Perlman's book, when Riley stepped down as coach of the Lakers, Magic put out a statement where he said, when I'm older and people ask me about Showtime, the first person I'll think of is Pat Riley. So you have to, for young people who might be listening to this, who don't understand the Lakers, right? So the Lakers up until Dr. Buss bought the team in 1979, right? You think about the Lakers before then, right? Were the Lakers a prominent franchise? In certain respects, yes. They were, obviously an LA franchise, and they had legends of the game already. They had George Mikan. Mikan was that was Minneapolis. But then, in the LA years, you're talking Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, Wilt, you know, Goodrich, and then of course Kareem comes along. But if you think about it, I would say during the '70s, at the time that Dr. Buss purchased the team, as I said in 1979, you would probably say that for sure that the Yankees were bigger, the Cowboys were bigger, and you could probably argue the Pittsburgh Steelers were bigger and the Green Bay Packers were bigger. When Dr. Buss bought the team and oversaw that first dynasty there under Magic and Kareem, the Showtime Lakers, with Pat Riley being almost as much as Magic and Kareem being the face of the that run over there on the sideline with his hair slicked back and the Armani suit and the Armani suits, so stylish and so iconic that Michael Douglas in the movie Wall Street, he modeled his character after Pat Riley, the look. They had that movie, and so Pat Riley. That's feel like when you look at the Lakers now, with respect to Mr. West and respect to Elgin Baylor and Wilt, surely they set the stage. But it's really that, and of course, what Jerry West did as an executive, he was the architect of, you know, for sure at least the second half of that Showtime run. I don't think he wasn't the GM. I think Bill Sharman might have been responsible for drafting Magic. I'm not sure. I don't want to be wrong. Um, but a lot of that stuff like um, realizing, okay, well, we love Norm, but um, we gotta get rid of we gotta get a real two guard to play alongside Magic. We can't this 2 point guard thing. It's working. They already won 2 championships like that, but it's probably not being in. Plus, there was some issues with Magic and Norm kind of because Norm had been the man, and it was sort of kind of sort of an issue there, more than just in the basketball sense. Um, so he makes that move for Byron Scott, and Byron is great. They win 3 championships with Byron. I think the 1982 decision that came down to it was between James Worthy and Dominique Wilkins, and also Terry Cummings. I can't say for sure. I want to say it was Jerry West though um, who made the call on that to draft James. But for sure, the second half of that run, in particular, that move to get Michael Thompson um, uh, during the 1986-87 season, that was such a pivotal move that allowed us to go back to back. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, Pat Riley, as I said, um, he was he was on the sidelines. He was a monumental figure in that era. You know, so yeah, um, all praises due to Pat uh, for what he did in his years with the Lakers. And like I said, it's a shame the Lakers weren't able to come out and put it on Boston. Just goes to show the changes. I remember when LeBron said the Lakers were playing Boston on Christmas a couple of years ago. LeBron said something like, he'd rather be at home, and the guys on the pod were like, how could you say that, LeBron? We're playing the Celtics. It's supposed to mean something. But it's like, and I respect the fact that, you know, when that second run against Boston came along in uh, between 2008 and 2010, we played them two out of three. I respect the fact that on both sides, those guys were willing to embrace that rivalry and take it personally. On our side, Kobe and Powell and Lamar and D. Fish and all the guys, it meant something to come back and after Boston beat us in 2008 to come back and beat them in 2010, not just for their own personal pride in the little, back and forth with Boston during their era, but because of the history, So, um, yeah, man, Pat Riley, uh, is, as much as anybody, man, he earned that statue. And you know who's next, man? The man who lorded over the Lakers dynasty of my youth, the great Phil Jackson. He's going to have to get himself a statue too. There's no doubt about it. It's only a matter of time, So I'll be looking for that one. Looking forward to that one as well. Um, Now I wanted to switch gears and say something about. I already said something before about. Uh, I said that I think that AJ DeBansta and not Darren Peterson should be the first pick in the draft. Um, Now, what I want to do though is I don't want to double down on that, but I want to take it a step further in saying that I would not draft Darren Peterson unless I would not draft Darren Peterson until all the other um, like franchise saving talents, or sorry, potentially franchise altering talents, or prospects in the draft were already off the board. So I mean, the only one I'm not taking over AJ DeBanston. I wouldn't take him over uh, Caleb Wilson. I wouldn't take him over um, uh, Cameron Boozer. Um, the kid from Houston, I wouldn't take him over that kid. It would have to be a situation where I look and I go, okay, everybody else who could potentially change my franchise, um, they're off the board. Now I'll take a shot on Darren Peterson. He's playing like half the games to Kansas. He checks himself out again. The thing about it that makes it bad, you have to remember, he's being paid surely seven figures to play at Kansas just for 1 year. So regardless of whether he really wants to play college basketball or not, I'm sure they all wish they were already in the NBA. You know, he's getting paid millions, and he's not showing any type of respect. And I'm looking at Bill Self funny because Bill Self, in my eyes, I thought Bill Self was one of those old school type coaches, and I can't believe he's letting Darren Peterson get away with this. You know, so um, yeah, I just think it's like I said, I personally, he may be a talented kid. I talked about he's a scintillating scorer, and the thing about him is that it's like he doesn't pass the ball. People are starting to kind of like first I was like, wow, what a score, and then it was like, well, why doesn't he play? Why does he check himself out of the game and stop playing? And now people are like, he doesn't even play. He doesn't pass the ball either. But that's the thing about it is that, as I was saying last time, a kid like that on paper, you look at it and go, okay, he's a scintillating scorer. Well, just imagine what would happen if he develops his playmaking skills to go along with that. You know, so the talent is there, but I mean, geez, Louise, he has no respect for the game. So again, man, I'm sorry, Darren Peterson, brother, I would not. It's almost a situation like an Ace Bailey type situation where he ended up going, I think, seventh. Um, but part of that was, um, whoever his agent was, that guy was like, Bailey saying that he didn't want to go to this place and this place, he wanted to go here, and teams just, they said, okay, fine, and they passed him up. But also a kid like that who's already causing problems before he's even drafted, it's a privilege to be drafted in the NBA. How are you already, before you're even drafted, trying to dictate where you go? Um, and he ended up falling, and he hasn't looked spectacular as a rookie, So, um, yeah, I'm skeptical of this Darren Peterson kid. Yeah, the talent is there as a scorer, but at the end of the day, man, you don't want a guy coming in your franchise who's gonna, be a headache and a pain in the ass. And he's already doing that in college. He's getting paid millions, and it's in front of everybody in ways that nobody has ever seen a college kid do this before. This is unheard of. Like I said, I can't believe Bill Self is letting this kid get away with this. So yeah. I think there was one other thing that I wanted to. That's right. So Ryan Garcia, he fought Mario Barrios on Saturday, and he won in dominant fashion. But Ryan Garcia to me is basically like the Victor Ortiz of his era, right? Meaning, can he fight? Yes, but he's a head case. You never really know what you're going to what to expect from him. I remember back when Ortiz was about to fight Mayweather, and Abby Kareem writing that he thought Victor Ortiz was the type of guy who he'll win some fights. He has some good wins and have some losses too. And you can be a very good fighter, have a very good career doing that. The questions coming into this fight for Ryan Garcia were, you know, after his, his previous showing, um, where is his head going to be at? Is he still committed to boxing? And he showed that he can get focused and still do what he needs to do against an overmatched opponent. But I think that Garcia is I was talking to Galvez about him, and they were saying that Galvez was saying that Garcia was supposed to be he was being positioned as the next Oscar, right? And yeah, but see, the thing that people don't understand about Oscar De La Hoya is that Oscar De La Hoya is truly a Oscar De La Hoya was a special fighter, and I think that people don't fully realize I don't know if people fully appreciate how good of a fighter Oscar De La Hoya was because he lost all of his biggest fights, right? So he lost to Mosley twice, he lost to Trinidad, he lost to Floyd, he lost to Bernard, and then he lost to Pacquiao. But uh, you know that second Mosley fight was hotly disputed, and of course the Trinidad fight was at the time and even now. I mean, at the time it's much considered a shocking robbery, and even today I think that pretty much everybody agrees that Oscar really won that fight. So if you give him that one and you give him that second Mosley one, you look at Oscar's career differently. But in Oscar's prime, the only time Oscar was outclassed was against Bernard Hopkins, so now it's at middleweight, which he never really should have been fighting at middleweight. That was like when Canelo lost the Bivol at light heavyweight. That was just a step too far, right? So, um, and then of course the Pacquiao fight, he was post prime for Oscar, although Pacquiao still gets his credit, but Oscar was couldn't pull the trigger anymore, as Freddie Roach said. But Oscar De La Hoya was a hell of a fighter. Ryan Garcia is no Oscar De La Hoya. I can tell you that right now. Even in this watered down era, like, can you imagine Oscar De La Hoya in this era fighting this low quality of fighters that they have in this era? There's no Shane Moses in this era. You know, there's no Floyd Mayweather. There's no Manny Pacquiao. There's no Felix Trinidad's in this era. You know, um, so I just wanted to say that. But good for Ryan Garcia that he got back on track against Barrios. But I just wanted to make that clear. He's no Oscar De La Hoya. All right, so before I get out of here, just a reminder to hit that subscribe button next to the Complete Podcast Network and to follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at TC Pod Network. You can also send feedback and mailbag questions to Complete Lakers Podcast at gmail.com. I am out.